I wouldn't call it a disturbing issue, but Nigerians have been talking about cost governance and how this present administration have not really paid attention to the plight of Nigerians, looking at the kind of expenses they make in some of the office. Should I say those of office furnitures? If you look at the supplementary budget that was just approved a few days in the National Assembly, we understand that some of those requests made in budgets made some Nigerians to question if this administration actually have the mind to reduce the sufferings of Nigeria. So there was this very other issues Nigerians have been talking about, 1.6 billion naira cars for the office of the First Lady. During the administration, we never had anything like the First Lady's office. We only have the wife of the president, and that generated some reactions. So this morning we shall be looking at that again. Is there an offer for the wife of the president, known as the First Lady of the Federation, the Constitution? Is it right, or the president just feels the First Lady, she needs those luxuries too? All right, I'll start with my guest in the studio. We have Mr. Barry Ovotu, the director of Vote Must Count, will be joining us very soon via Zoom. But let me begin with Mr. Dayo. A very good morning to you.
Good morning. It's good to be here. Thank you very much.
All right. Like I mentioned, is there an office for the First Lady?
Well, the truth is that the Constitution doesn't recognize any such office. It's a creation of, we actually first experienced that under the Babangida administration when the office of the First Lady was created. And let me quickly touch on one allusion you made a while ago when you said that the last regime, the last administration did not have a First Lady. I think it's a matter of semantics, really, because when President Buhari came into office, or shortly before, he did say that he wasn't interested in such an office. But the truth is that whether or not one was officially proclaimed, we can see that there was an activity hub around the wife of the president. And of course, we saw that there were ceremonies and all kinds of things. There were staff. There were assistants, senior special assistants that were that worked with her, who were paid from public money. So it's actually semantics. The last administration had an office that is the equivalent of, I mean, maybe nomenclature-wise it was different, but it's the same thing. Whether you call it, because the person who occupies the office of the First Lady is actually the wife of the president. So whether you call it the president's office or you call it the First Lady office, it's the same thing. There's no difference between 6 and half a dozen. Now, but let's move a little bit further to say that any of this is not even recognized by the Constitution. And so I think that this is something that the people of Nigeria must begin to really take seriously and to begin to say no to. Because you see, there is no there's no value addition that is traceable to that office. There's no value addition. There's no economic value. There's nothing spectacular. We've turned, okay, because we copied our presidential system and we see them have those kind of, if you check, you would find out that indeed in the America that we're copying, that office is not as visible as, it's merely ceremonial. It's most of the time so that when the president has outings and all that, he's accompanied by his wife, and then there's some respect to the nomenclature. But beyond that, we have not heard of such humongous amounts being allocated to such an office. Because indeed, what exactly are the duties attached to that office, if there were such an office? There has to be clearance, there has to be clarification, there has to be clarity about exactly what we mean by the office of the First Lady and what duties are expected to be carried out by such an office.
Okay, so let's presume that there should be an office for the First Lady. what would have been our duty, so that probably Nigeria will feel, okay, fine, if the First Lady does this, the Constitution can be amended for us to have an office for the First Lady.
I think the authors of the Constitution, who represent the entire Nigerian people, were, in their wisdom, didn't seem to think that there was anything spectacular, specific that could be allocated to that office as duties. Ordinarily, we would expect that the wife of the president should take care of our president, should a good home, support him, and then maybe once in a while in the public support him, so that at least to a good cop for millions of other couples in the country. But beyond that, I do not exactly know what anyone would want to assign as duties to that office, because first of all, it's become like husband and wife that's what it's become. And I do not think that that's the very best that we can do. We can walk through several persons. Yes, indeed, you would look back and say, oh, during the first, the maiden one under Babangida, you had better life for rural women. But who says that some of these projects cannot be properly assigned to ministries or departments and agencies? We are a people, we're a country where there is so much duplication of agencies, of duties, of assignments, and all these lead to waste. What we find out is that the same thing that is being done by this particular agency is also being done, and it's also replicated somewhere, and it's duplicated somewhere. And at the end, funds are being channeled to all these places for the same thing. And at the end, in fact, you hardly get any results.
But we've seen some of these, like you mentioned, during the first time we had that office.
Yes.
The National Women's Center, which was just renamed Miriam Babangida Center, was one of the projects of the First Lady then. I've seen what she has done, what they've done with that center in terms of empowering women. So are you saying that we've not really have an impact or feel the impact of
who says that such could not have been done by the Ministry of Women Affairs? Who says that that couldn't be done by the presidency? Who says that that can be handled by a public-private partnership of government and some non-government organization? Who says that? I mean, so the fact that it was done by a particular president or First Lady does not necessarily mean that that's the only way by which, or that that's the best way, or that that's the most economically viable, the cheapest way, or the most effective way, or the most efficient way of achieving the same thing. So I would say that there's really, as of today, there's really no need for the office of the First Lady. And if you have to have to be as out of sight as possible, and it should not draw public finances, and that's very critical, very important.
But apart from public finances, we know that the office of, or well, if we shouldn't call it the office of the First Lady, but the First Lady has some kind of influence in what President does. Like you said, she should be there to take care of our president, but she can serve as an advisory also to the president. Don't you think that overruns such actions to our office also?
See, we would soon go, because you see, give them a year, they'll take a mile. We will soon begin to have first son, the office of son, because we have seen some of the delinquencies that have happened in recent times, for example, where you find that somebody, a president's son, is sitting on the most powerful meeting, the highest decision-making body of the executive. I mean, for me, it was disgraceful, if you ask me, that the president had to come in the public view and to say at one of the meetings that, look, if I do not, whoever I have not invited specifically should not be allowed in. For me, that's a thing that would have been at home. And in any case, it's an indication of how the home has run. Because if children know boundaries. If boundaries have been set from time and they know their boundaries, such a thing should not even have happened. Now, so we're gradually going to the point where you would soon begin to have office of the family and of the family by extension. There are a whole lot of such things that they enjoy. So adding some new things to the list doesn't do us any good. It doesn't do the image of the government any good either. The truth is, at a time like this, it would have been bind a government that wants to run the way you are people to tighten their belts, even by the removal of subsidy. You should lead the push. You should lead the move by what they also see. You know, I mean, what people see you do is much more instructive, it's much more powerful than your rhetorics. At any point in time, you can have beautiful rhetorics, you can say whatever it is, you can make it into beautiful prose, and you can have all the means of media, communication gadgets and whatever to push it. But if your lifestyle, if living, does not line up with that which you're talking about, there's dissonance, and then the trust, and then of course you have this trust deficit that we have between the people of Nigeria and their leaders.
All right, before we end this discussion, but I just want you to react to this. The First Lady, I was a former senator, and then we understand that if we have some influence in terms of appointment, the kind of president has to bring into his cabinet of. But if you look at the antecedents of the First Lady, you understand that she has been in government for a very long time, probably on the legislative side of it. Don't you think we should further that privilege of also playing a part in this administration?
It still does not fly, because what is that it's not a personal thing. Whatever is good for the geese is good for the gander, they say. Now, if you begin to allow that, you must allow it across board. It's not because this person has served in the Senate or whatever. I mean, the truth is this. The fact that, you see, this president is blessed. What it means is that because your better half has a good understanding of governance based on the experience over the years, she would be a very useful ally behind the scenes. It doesn't necessarily have to be that she comes to have an office and all the perquisites of office and all that. There's no need for it. If I were the president, I would enjoy that load, that source of wisdom, experience from behind. In fact, it will put me ahead of my colleagues, it will put me ahead of my teammates, my kitchen cabinet, and then they'll be wondering where it is coming from. But to now bring her out in the open, I do not think that that's the best choice.
All right, thank you so much, Dayo Omogun. Well, we'll take a quick break here, and when we return, okay, we'll be wrapping up this segment. Thank you again for being on the program.
Right.
I hope to see you again when we call on you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, the program This Morning on ITV continues.